Internet addiction. Sounds scary, right? But we live in a 24/7 information age where we use technology for both work and play. For the insanely cool pocket computers we all rely on, every single one of the services on our phones now plays on at least one psychological trope to reinforce our participation with that app or service. Beeps, chirps, and vibrations. Stimulus, which trains us to react, and we get that dopamine hit in our brains whenever a message, like, or reply arrives. We're also seeing research suggesting that nighttime use of blue light might be interrupting our body's natural sleep rhythms, tricking our brains into thinking it's daylight. But one of the more anecdotal links between smartphone use and potentially addictive behavior might come down to just the colors that your smartphone screen can produce. A lot of research has gone into the psychology between colors and emotions, how our brains react to, say, the color red, for example. Now, it could be something primal baked into our DNA, or it could just be a result of living in a society which uses that color to get your attention. Maybe we're just trained to respond to the color red, but regardless, our phones are insane little color generating machines. In addition to everything else going on our phones, could a color display be adding to that psychological whammy of getting sucked into internet apps and services? Well, to test this, I've been using myself as a guinea pig for the last week, and I've switched my Galaxy S7 over into black and white mode. There are really easy settings to enable on both iOS and Android to activate this non-color mode. On Android, for example, you're going to have to enable developer settings first, but once you have that open, you're going to slide down to an option called Simulate Color Space, and you're going to activate a mode called Monochromacy. Monochromacy? And bam, you now have a device that displays all of your content in grayscale. The initial switch was extremely jarring. I didn't realize how dependent I was on color to locate my favorite apps and services. Iconography means very little to me. As I'm navigating around my phone screens, I was just used to little blue splotch, well, that's where OneDrive lives, and ugly tie-dye splotch, that's where Instagram is now. But it only took about a day for me to reacclimate and then start basing more of my phone navigation off of brute force muscle memory as opposed to the visual eye candy I'm used to on these really pretty AMOLED displays. Now, proponents of going monochrome claim that by eliminating color, our brains won't be seeking the exact same kind of chained responses, chained gratification. That when we open our phones to do one thing, we don't find ourselves exhausting Reddit 2 hours later. Curbing all of these flashing colors, all of these pretty lights, should help reduce, to a small but important degree, the amount of distractions we face when interacting with mobile technology. Only using my phone this way for a week, it's difficult for me to ascertain how my usage might have been altered. Though anecdotally, I do find that my casual interactions with my phone tend to be a little bit shorter. I seem to be more inclined to interact with one notification and then just turn my phone back off as opposed to looking for other things to do. Again, anecdotally, and not scientific by any stretch, but I also seem to be ending each day in monochrome mode with a little bit more battery than I was used to. I really don't think that monochrome mode uses less power on a phone like the Galaxy S7. I really do think this could be because of shorter interactions with every time I turn the screen on. Now, why you should take this with a huge rock of salt is I am fully aware of what it is that I'm testing and trying to achieve in altering my own behavior as a test subject in a psychological experiment of one sample person. I honestly can't say whether I'm willing myself to use my phone less or if I actually am seeing an impact of no color on my screen subtly influencing my brain chemistry to tone down the gratification response of operating a smartphone. That brain chemistry is pretty tricky stuff. And what I can say is I do seem to be experiencing a limit on the entertainment aspects of using my smartphone. You know, looking through Instagram, for example, black and white is stunning for photography, but I don't have the same urge to go through deep dives of looking back through days of cataloged photos like I used to. Instagram was an app that I very easily got lost in. Removing the color from my phone screen just seems to make it a little less fun. And I absolutely don't have any interest in gaming on a monochrome display. Now, as I mentioned before, a 1-week study with a sample size of 1 participant is hardly conclusive, woefully inadequate to draw any kinds of answers from me doing this, but it was a fascinating experiment, especially just learning a little bit about my own behavior, especially on that first day and turning the color off. And it's an experiment that you can easily conduct yourselves just to see how it might impact your behavior when using your phone. When I'm in between review devices here at Pocketnow, I think I'm gonna stick to this monochromacy mode on my smartphones to see how it might affect my usage long term. And I am reaching out to several colleges to see if I can get a proper psychiatrist on and maybe we can have an interview, a brief discussion about the role of color and stimulus response and gratification on affecting our brain chemistry and dumping that dopamine, because that stuff gets you high. But seriously, I think it would be fun to follow up with an actual expert in a couple months, see if we can hammer out some of the differences between real science and then just sort of internet placebo discussion. And stay tuned next month, because we're gonna have another challenge for the month of July, and I'm gonna be bringing Jaime Rivera on board for a little contest, a photography contest. And we're gonna need our viewers and subscribers to vote on who wins. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like these. Sharing is always greatly appreciated, and hit that thumbs up button for a little extra positive reinforcement. For Pocketnow, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell. You can chat me up on Twitter and Instagram as Some Gadget Guy, and I will catch you all on the next video. That brain chemistry is pretty tricky stuff.